Cool. Episode 11, Hack the Planet. The cleaner crew with a whole bunch of new faces. Asher has been in the crew intermittently on and off, and I think the last 2 sessions Asher has been here. So people know Hicks pretty well. Do you want to introduce your character real quick, Asher?
All right. So Hicks is all about gardening, basically, right? It started off as a vice, like organizing the community garden, and it brought them to this crew. Brought her to this crew. She wears like a all black, like a long coat, skirt, cowl. Um, and since this is in the future, all the farming is like indoor farming, right? So it's all like layered and stacked up and stuff.
Yeah, for the most part.
And they're not hot, so about hacking and manipulating and on these scores.
Cool. And remind me, is Hicks the character that you created with Matthias's group?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So they've been on a mission. You were like, is did you use Hicks in other crews as well, or just those two?
Just Matthias, yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. And oh yeah, I should say also, which I always forget, Ed Lowell is very good about doing, but this is a Gauntlet Hangout game. And you can find the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com. And if you search the Gauntlet community on G+, Google Plus for people that don't know, and join the community, there's a calendar of games, and it is very much open. We have tons of games scheduled. I think, I don't know, last time Jason did a message, there was something like 200 games posted in any given month or something like that, some crazy amount. And after a week, if you're not on the Patreon, it goes open so that anybody can join the games. So if you find the calendar at gauntlet-rpg.com, you can sort the calendar by the games that are full and then just RSVP to games as long as you sign in with your Google Plus account. So cool. With that out of the way, why don't we have Ed? Do you want to introduce your character, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So my character's name is Luis Vegas. His alias is APOC. He's an edge. Kind of look is just sort of grizzled, scarred. He's got sort of like carbon fiber patches. He's got laborer overalls and, switches between a, hoodie and a poncho. Just quick background is he's a forged, came to Shelter One by way of communities outside of the city. His family used to be a protein farmer. Some sort of, act of God came through, wrecked the farm, and that's what caused them to seek asylum in Shelter One. Former Sentinel agent for safety. That's kind of his military background until he defected and joined the community.
Cool. And what special abilities did you take?
Ended up going with beg your pardon. Here we go. With conditioning, he can push himself. Every item's a weapon. It just sounds so cool. And then follow through. Basically just, additional dice or effect, just because he's so, I guess everyone's so susceptible to him is the way that it's described.
Yeah. You get to gather information about people when they mess you up. You
just
learn
crumple.
more about them. Yeah. Yeah. You're the Jason Bourning people.
There you go.
Cool. And all right. How about Mike? Do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I've got Jira Madsen, alias Shimmer, and she's going to be our twerk on this one. Really focused on both the sabotage, you know, sneaking into places and like wrecking or undermining things, like, you know, yeah, and breaking into places. I think that she's like very much like a mercenary. Like, I don't think that she's been working with the cleaners for very long. I think she kind of drifted in from, you know, somewhere overseas pretty recently. Her background's Dragonfly, so she's kind of been, I think, kind of like wandering the seas for a while. You know, took a job with the cleaners, and you know, absolutely, you know, as long as they're paying for, like, you know, happy to, you know, work for them. I picture her as like a bit of like a nihilistic, like hedonist a little bit. I don't think that she's saving money. I think she spends it all like pretty quickly on like basically on partying, and she's always chasing these like dangerous gigs where she gets to destroy things so that she can kind of like maintain that cycle basically. The abilities I took for her are, I'll go with the rec ones and then the modify ones. Structure hitter on and Saboteur. Structure hitter kind of, you know, helps you when you're trying to wreck something really big. Saboteur when you're trying to wreck something quietly. So I guess I can quietly wreck something really big potentially. I've also got System Mastery, not affected by tier or quality when I'm modifying electronic or mechanical systems. And I took Street Doc as well. So, you know, even though she's, you know, I don't think that she's like particularly loyal to people at first. Like, I think that she is like on some level going to be looking out for the people around her, and that kind of medical background kind of helps keep everybody together.
Cool. And Yan.
Yep, Jan here. I'm playing Colt Kowalczyk Moretti. Nice hyphenated, hard to pronounce last name. I am a lens. I have a heritage of Tipper, which I guess is sort of like the hated old generation of people that's getting hunted down. I have an ex-mercenary background. I imagine I work for like a private contractor at some point. I kind of picture him as he has this like very professional attitude. He's an older gentleman, although he's younger than he actually looks. Like, he's probably like in his early 40s, but he maybe looks like he's in his 60s. He's like mostly grayed. He's a heavier set gentleman. He's not athletic. He's not like you know, you at first glance you wouldn't think that this guy's a danger at all. You might think he was pathetic. But he's a mean shot, and he's got a lot of experience. And I figure he's probably he's somewhat shell-shocked. He like has seen too much, and he's probably his vice is like essentially stupor. He wants to just escape himself, and I think what he's seeking in like this like underground community is he wants to somehow reclaim like a normal life. I imagine he has like some kind of baked good stand or something at like the farmer's market, and he smiles at children, and he's really trying to put on a face of like wholesomeness, and he's trying to get into the community, but at the same time he feels like a total outsider, like somewhat of a sham to himself. I think he won't take his own life because he's too professional, and like he doesn't believe in it, but I think he kind of almost wants to die in combat. You know, it's like he struggles, and he has good days and he has bad days. He probably wears like army fatigues most of the time. I imagine they're not like the camouflage colors are all like crazy because the setting is so different. And I imagine it being kind of digital, like squares and boxes that kind of fit into a more urban environment. And yeah, salt and pepper, like I said, heavier set, and that's about it.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay, so with all that in mind, what do people want to see the most in the fiction for this sort of like one shot outside of the normal game? Like, we'll have this, if this was a TV show or whatever, this would be like at the same time as these other people pulling off this job against the Coil or something. Y'all are doing this, right? Or like after the last job. receive.
Well, I didn't mention this when I did the character description, but I think that she's got a grudge against somebody, and we can define that as soon as we figure out who our target is. She might have a grudge against more than one of these factions.
Okay. So what do people want to see the most in the fiction? It sounds like, I mean, edgewise, did you pick that because you want to mess people up, Jason Bourne style?
Yeah, you read my mind. Just like lots of repelling, lots of sort of, dangerous situations. Yeah, sneaking about, action. You got it.
And Asher, you were saying that you wanted something to do outside of the city, right?
Yeah, since we're in a different group, I just wanted to explore different places, right?
Right. Okay. And Yan, anything in particular that you wanted to see from the fiction?
I'm kind of interested in a more maybe like sparse or like industrial complexy kind of place, like maybe slightly less urban and a little bit more on the outskirts. But I'm open. I just kind of like the idea of that setting. I think I like the atmosphere.
Okay.
As long as I can wreck things.
And you want to wreck stuff. Okay. Interesting. So let's see if we can't make a few things happen. So interesting things outside of the city would be there's the Rust, which is like a smear. It's like a kind of like an archipelago of like different islands and stuff like that, and that's where porters get trained. They're sort of like from this region. They used to be fishermen, but they got like adapted to the times and have become porters, and they use heavy lift ships to catch icebergs, like glaciers that are getting broken up from climate change. They get harpooned and brought back to the city for drinking water. That's how they make their own money. But they have their own island and sort of like set of problems going on there. There's Cresting Grace, which has it's like the home of sorcerers, which are people that kind of get think of them as contractors, I guess, that get paid to find sources of water. And they have like specific technologies and sort of ways of life and teachings that are passed down from like generation to generation to do this kind of work. That's how they make their money. And there is also the Children of Water in the same place of Cresting Grace, which are, it's kind of like a place that has rumors flying about that the tea master's there, which is like tea in this setting, since water is very sparse, is like a luxurious thing. It's not something that most people can afford to have, and if they have, then it's like of poor quality, and higher quality stuff is like very sought after. And this faction has rumors going on about it that the tea masters there are using their positions as tea masters to infiltrate places and assassinate people. There is Slate Peak, which has Project Upwind on it. I think, Asher, you've already seen that, right? You saw it in the other. I don't think
it was called that.
Yeah, you with the loom community there, with the giant stack that is a carbon sink with the forest and like the.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was thinking of something else.
Yeah, you've seen that already. And have you seen Silk Falls, Asher? With the Owaza. Silk Falls is like if you picture south of the city, there's sort of like a desert area. It's like very desolate, and within that area there's like a large crevasse which has like a community living within its recesses, and they are gardeners that have gene hacked flowers to basically be biotech as well. So when the flowers bloom and release pollen, they release them at the same time as an act of God comes by, and they use that as sort of like a twister data hacking device, and they get data on Acts of God and then sell it that way. And they're sort of like that's their jam, basically. Yeah. Is any of those things sound appealing for a few options? For outside of the shelter?
I mean, just like the sound of the rust makes me want to go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like get your shots before you go.
Yeah, there is a industrial complex because they build the ships there. So you could do something with that. It's where like the master boatcraft people live and all of that kind of stuff going on.
Well, let me ask you, like, because like we have some kind of a garden, and presumably we water our garden, and presumably like getting water for our garden is probably like not the easiest thing. So maybe we have some kind of need to have water, and we're trying to like hook that up somehow.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds cool. We haven't
Like,
really explored that before.
Yeah, maybe like getting a boat, like our own boat, like taking it from someone and just having a boat, and then getting some icebergs.
Just getting some icebergs.
Yeah.
Well, I think it takes like quite a few people, I think, to use a heavy lift shift to like get an iceberg. But
Or one person with a gun and lots of people that know what they're doing.
what about like yeah, I guess so. But what about like
Iceberg?
what about something like you guys infiltrating a heavy lift shift that has an iceberg, and then you like hijack it or something from them, right? Because that way you
That
could
sounds great.
you can wreck the ship that way, right? You can mess up some people, you can fight them, right? And there can be some infiltrating stuff for the haunt to do that way as well. And the lens could definitely provide like cover or whatever you see fit doing, right? If you want to die in combat, porters are happy to kill people that interlope on their ships, I'm sure.
I love dying. My guy wants to die, so that sounds perfect.
Can't wait to like save your life.
No. Cool. Okay, so before we do a score, what we want to generally do is choose a type of score and then gather information about it so that we can like pull the job off well, right? So that being said, is there a plan that people really want to see this session from a player perspective, right? And then we can work towards that. Do you want to assault it?
I like the idea of an assault. I want chaos. I want fire. I want people running around.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, the more chaos, the better to kind of cover up our trail as we exit.
Right. Okay. And okay, cool. Yeah, and that still gives opportunity in the ensuing chaos for the haunt to like pose as an officer and do some stuff like release the like lower iceberg or some shit like that, right? Like you can definitely do some stuff on that. There'll always be hacking to do on these heavy lift shifts that are like, yeah, giant repurposed vessels with PS like if you've seen Hunt for Red October, they have like the caterpillar drives on them, like the silent running stuffs. And cool. So you want to prepare for an assault. You want to ostensibly is the idea to take over the ship and drive the glacier to Shelter One yourselves, or what's the plan?
I'm imagining maybe there's sort of like a third-party black market, water processor or something to that effect. Maybe there's a refinery that's not part of the corporation that we could, smuggle the glacier to. Maybe they take a cut of the water or something to that effect.
Right. That sounds cool. So do you picture taking one that is in transit to Shelter One, or is it like as a ship is coming into Shelter One, you hijack it and then like have these people these like water baron people, I guess, come take the glacier for you, since you guys don't have like the resources in a ship to do that, or what? Do you just like hit up this group and be like, "Hey, come check out this ship at 10:15. The glacier's gonna be yours, and we want to cut," that kind of thing?
I kind of picture it like not going to Glacier 1, and we just kind of hijack the boat and then get it there. And then did I say Glacier 1? I didn't mean Glacier 1.
You want one glacier, please, to go?
And yeah, and then I picture exactly as Eduardo had mentioned. Eduardo, right? I got that right. Like, you know, we meet up. We've made some, like, because we don't know what we're doing with this stuff, right? So we've managed some kind of a connection, and I imagine they get some proportion of the cut, and we get a chunk of water.
Let's see. You've got a +1 with the red leaves. Would they give a shit about this? Yeah. The red leaves are a family of thieves turned antiquarians who
Everybody
operate a
drinks
pawn shop.
water.
Yeah. You would think so anyway. They act as data brokers, sometimes go between. So maybe they've got a little, maybe they're enticed by this plan, right? Where you're like, we gotta think bigger than ourselves. The red leaves are tier 2, so maybe they're ready to like move up in the world, right? Take the bull by the horns, essentially. Or do you have somebody else that might make sense on your faction sheet? Let's see. Split P. Oh, I guess Split Peas might actually be into that, right? They definitely need water.
Well, they have some black market involvement, don't they?
Yeah.
Could they be involved in like helping us like fence this and get this giant block of ice converted into usable currency?
What if it's not even a fence? What if it's just like we have like forged documents and like we just pass off as other, you know, glacier deliverer people?
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So yeah, the split peas would do it because they're already at +3 for you two, so they would go out of their way to help you. So that is good fictional positioning right there. Cool. Okay. So bearing that in mind and working towards at least the initial sort of in media res cut to this job, which you want to be an assault, how would you gather information about the things that you want? I will quickly highlight the things that you want to be hitting to get a good engagement roll, which is you want to be bold and daring. You don't want it to be too complex or contingent on many factors. You want it to expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weakest. You don't want them to be strongest against this approach or have particular defenses, which a ship hauling a glacier might get attacked by pirates and stuff like that quite often. So you might want to be coming up with like a creative way to circumvent that. You want to see if any friends or contacts can provide aid, and if there's any other elements. Generally, you'll probably be taking a -1 on most jobs because you're tier 1 and everything is generally higher tier than you. So it kind of cancels out your sheer luck with the tier. So you want to be working towards those factors, being bold and daring, exposing vulnerabilities, and using friends and contacts to help you and stuff, right? So bearing that in mind, what information would you like to gather and how would you like to do it?
Go ahead, Ed.
Oh, thanks. I was just wondering, I mean, did we establish if we are getting this while it's let's say, you know, at point A or in transit, or
It sounds like in transit is what people wanted.
is that? Is there any?
Is that what people are thinking? Like,
I mean, I'm open. That's how I pictured it. But like, if it's easier to do it another way,
I was just
would be maybe to hide out on the glacier or iceberg.
Yeah, find a juicy one.
Yeah, I mean, or even we could like break one off. Even we know that if we break one off, it's drifting out to sea the right direction. They're gonna.
We're like frozen in a block. And they're like, water, not water, mercenaries.
I was just wondering if we're cool with or open to doing one in transit. Is there some way to take advantage of some sort of like act of God that causes this thing to stall out, or maybe it needs to pause and ride out the storm, and that's our opportunity to jump on? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, hiding on a glacier and waiting for a tornado sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
I feel like there would also be some sort of port thing, right? Like they would have to dock at the glacier or at something nearby. Maybe there's like a
Got it.
carrier or something we can sabotage,
Yeah, is there some sort of trolley or something, to get us out there?
Well, maybe the idea is that the act of God forces them somewhere that we want them to be. Like maybe some like abandoned ship in the rust, and they can like tie off on it and like ride the waves out or whatever, and then we're there to assault them.
Right. Well, a good way to get the fictional positioning for, excuse me, being out there already without the means to is by, when you do, can any friends or contacts provide aid? You could be like, yes, I want the split peas to have leveraged our +3 to like get us out there and positioned and ready to do this type of stuff, right? That's a good way to get the aid or insight, because they'll go out of their way to help you, and they definitely will. Like most of this series has been y'all helping the split peas and getting a lot of status, so they owe you like big time, big time. Especially because every time I rolled an entanglement, it was like a cooperation thing. So they kept being like, "Can you help us with this?" And they kept doing it. So they pulled like 3 or 4 jobs for them, and all pretty huge. So, in terms of fictional positioning to get out at the rust, I'm sure they would have the means to get you on, whatever kind of ship or whatever documentation or whatever you want to have to get it. But if you want to assault the ship, you should think about how exactly in your head do you want that to like play out, right? Like I'm still a little bit confused as to if people want to hit the ship in transit or at a port or be in a glacier or whatever, right? So
okay, I got an idea. Tell me if you guys think this is cool. So we figure out some kind of act of God thing. They're forced to kind of go off their normal, like they've already hooked this glacier. They're forced to go off their path and go to like a safe zone. And the safe zone I picture is like some kind of location where there's like 2 huge mega ships, like 2 aircraft carriers or something, that's like on either side of an embankment, and they tie off on it just as like in order to stabilize themselves and maybe put the glacier like down current or whatever, so it's all safe, and wait the storm out. And then that's where we launch our attack from like these 2 aircraft carriers or whatever.
Yeah, I like it.
So they're like derelict ones that
rusty ones.
Right, right. So they're there just to act as like a buffer for places, right? So like savvy, salty sea dogs know about this place to bring their ships to weather out storms.
Totally.
Cool.
Sure.
Okay. That sounds cool. And you'll be there waiting for them, right?
Heck yeah.
And then the idea is to attack the ship, hijack it, and have the red or the split peas kind of like take the glacier for you, or are you gonna take this ship to an alternate location with these people on it, or are you just gonna kill everybody on it and then do it, or what?
I imagine killing everybody, except for the people you need to pilot the boat, and then just taking it to Shelter 1, and then having the split peas take care of, like, they're our buddies. we help them out. Now they help us out. They figure out the like business end, and we want our water.
Right. Okay. So you're gonna kill everybody, take the ship, take the glacier, and then go. So you're probably gonna be targeting like a relatively small like crew, right? Not like a giant ship, because you guys might be good, but that would be tough. But I mean, yeah, easy for Colt to say because they just want to like die anyway, right? Like, let's take on
The bigger the better.
liner. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so if that is the plan that everybody wants to enact, it would be good to gather information about those particular things to be bold and daring, not contingent on many factors, expose vulnerabilities, etc. But since we're 15 over the hour, why don't we take a quick break and come back at 23? And then we'll do some more work on this plan. Does that sound good to everybody?
Amazing.
Cool.
Sounds good.
I'll see you at 23. Cool. I'm looking for ship graveyard pictures, but on Pinterest, but not finding too many pertinent, cool ones, unfortunately. I've seen lots in like fiction and like Uncanny Magazine and stuff like that, but maybe Pinterest isn't the place for ship graveyard pictures.
Just wondering if this is too clever. But there's that scene at the end of AI, and I mean, you have the sense that it's maybe like New York or some urban place that's just sort of buried in water. I mean, would that sort of fit into the fiction that perhaps this is some urban coastal city that's been overcome?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that would be cool. Get shots of like when you're on top of those derelict ships looking down, you can see like skyscrapers and shit down there. That'd be cool. I think actually Kira McGran is doing a set piece like that.
Oh, wow.
I've been careful about what Forge stuff I've done because like a whole bunch of the stretch goals is me commissioning people to make them. So I've only made like 4 or 5 right now just because I don't want them to overlap with what other people are making in the setting, and I don't want them to be too many because the book is probably already going to be pretty big. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, what's this picture? Cool. Yeah, that looks neat. All right. So we're just waiting on Asher, I guess. It's quite the Wasteland 2 picture. It's like, yeah, it's really funny. Have you played Wasteland 2? Is it good?
No, I'm on Google Images. I don't know any. I can't play video games. I like if I start, my life is over.
Right.
I have no self control. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me in Hollow Knight right now on the Switch. I waited for that to drop and then got it, and now I've probably put like, I don't know, a good solid like 10 hours in it over the last 3 days. Just like gone nice and hard, but that game is really cool.
Honestly, I don't even understand how people play video games in moderation. They're like designed by neurologists to be maximally addictive. They're like,
yeah. I have like usually around 2 times a year I like boot up Civilization and play it for like 3 days straight. But then I'm like, oh god, I have to uninstall this, and then like 6 months later I'm like, all right, like time to get my fix.
Yeah. I used to play like tons and tons. Like I used to be like a competitive Quake player when I was a kid.
Oh wow.
And then like I think at 25 I was like, I can't do this. Like I like look back at my life, I'm like, what did I do? And like all my like, accomplishments had to do with like ratings and PvP and stuff, right? And then I quit, and then like every 4 years I think like, okay, I'm like, I'm adult enough to give this a shot. I'm sure I can like manage my time, figure it out, and then like everything falls. Like I find myself at like 3 in the morning with like pizza on my shirt. Like, how did I get here?
Yeah, I was the same way when Gears of War 1 came out. I was intensely competitive with that. I would be like up till 4 or 5 in the morning playing it, and it was not a good look. I was like obsessed with maintaining or increasing my rank. I was like top 500 in the world in the game.
Wow.
Like killing, when you start killing like Koreans and Japanese people in the games, then you know that you like need to take a break. You're just like, okay. I was like part of like a whole squad thing before Gears of War even had support for something like that, and I was just, it was bad. I remember I was dating a girl back then. This is how douchey I was. I was dating her for like a month or something, and I gave her a key, and she was all excited about it. It was literally just because she kept like ringing the doorbell and needing to like come in while I was playing the game. And I
Did she know you as Frazier or as like Ghost Killer _ 555?
she met me from work, so yeah. Basically, I would just do like stock room work or play Gears of War. That was my life at like 22 to 23 or something. And then yeah, similarly at 25, I was just like, I need to experience life. Life is a good thing. And so yeah.
And now here we are online playing games.
Yeah, and now I play like I still buy the games, but I never play them. It's really stupid. Like like I pre-ordered Metal Gear Solid when it came out, and now it's a free game on with like games with gold or whatever, and I haven't even played it yet. And I was just like, fuck, why did I pre-order this?
I have the same feeling, except with role-playing games. I just buy games and stick them on a shelf, and like the spines aren't even cracked.
Oh, well, see
I
that
can empathize.
I read all of those games because I like to do design work, and so I consume as much design work from other people as I can. So, and recently I noticed that Goodreads has RPGs on there, so now it goes towards my reading total. So I'm gamifying it. So now, as I read Bluebird's Bride and all that, I'm just like rating it and saying when I finished it and stuff, and looking towards my reading challenge meter stuff going on. So that's one way to encourage you to do it. Just like make a reading challenge for you each year, and then if you want to do it, then read all your.
Oh,
your
I read
books.
all of them. I just read them digitally. I just like to have the book
Oh.
just to have it on my shelf and support the author, you know?
Oh, okay, yeah.
How many books do you have to read to level up, Fraser?
I have a modest goal of 50 that I've almost hit in the year already. I'm at like 48 or something, and I haven't even added a whole bunch that I've read yet.
You should have told us before you started, because I don't like to play with Game Masters unless they have at least a rating of 50 on Goodreads.
I'm so close. 48 out of 50, right?
I don't know.
So close. Okay, so getting back to the fiction. What do people want to do to get that leverage for their engagement role? Remember, it's the bold and daring and exposing vulnerabilities and all of that kind of stuff.
I am not the most like go find shit out kind of character. I could though. I guess my biggest questions going into this would be what kind of security they've got on the ship and what we can do about it. That would be kind of like my first question. And I've got like a 1 in survey, so like I can roll that die.
Well, there's lots of ways that you could figure it out, right? Especially as a torque. Maybe you can just like go talk to a friend or something and get the schematics for the ship and see like what the original building plans for the ship was and what like the whatever they've done to it, and then just like look if they've added weapons or how much the ship can carry for capacity and all that kind of stuff. There's definitely different ways of approaching it. Do you have a friend that could help you with that too, instead of just being like, I look at the ship?
I do have. I've got a haunt, so they would probably have be able to get some info on this.
Cool. So, in terms of the game, you tell me what action you're going to be doing. It's gathering information, so your role isn't going to be like in terms of failure and success. It'll be more information and less, depending on your result level. Mm-hmm. And so, do you think you're networking with your haunt then?
I would like to avoid that.
Okay, so what do you think you're doing?
I think that actually I kind of like push this in the direction like if there's, I mean, this isn't like, I mean, obviously the boat itself like is going to have some security on it, but like some of the facilities around there, I mean, I'd basically like to kind of sneak around, kind of case the area, see what I can observe just by kind of trying to, by going around there, undetected basically. I'd like to kind of sneak around and case the joint out.
Cool.
Even if not on board the ship, like if I can get some vision on it without them noticing me, that would be kind of my goal.
Cool. So is that ghosting or what?
Yeah, I'd be pushing ghost there.
Cool. Okay, so why don't you roll that up and let's see what information you get. Based on your roll, you'll ask me a question. So you're getting...
I should be rolling 2. There we go. That rolled the second one. That counts as 2, right?
Well, you rolled 3 dice and they're all 3s.
Okay, well that works out then. So no matter how you slice it, that's a 3.
Yeah. In the future, if you want, you can just use your sheet though. You just click on ghost and it's a button. Or click on what is it called in the sheet?
Prow.
I'll do slash roll because I just printed mine out and did it because I was like kind of tripped up by the double naming and all that stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so you got a mid result, which is, or sorry, you got a fail, which is limited information. So is this like scene though, you going like, do we get in the if this was the episode opener or something like that, do we just get like 1 week ago and we see your character like prowling through the shipyards and stuff like that and like up on catwalks trying to like peer at this stuff or what?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you have any items that would help you with effect level, by the way?
I've got like multi-spectrum goggles.
Yeah, sure. So you're like, we just get like a shot of you up on a catwalk with like all of these dock workers moving around and stuff like that, and multiple ships plugged into their ports, and you're kind of like zooming in and taking looks at a particular brand of them, right? So what specific question would you like answered? And I will give you limited information.
What kind of security do they have to guard the ship itself?
In terms of like personnel or
personnel or systems, like anything that they're using to defend the ship, I'm interested in.
Okay, so I think they definitely have. They're strongest at repelling ship-to-ship stuff, right? Like that's what they're used to dealing with in the open seas. So I think they'll have particular like ordnance, maybe like sort of like minigunish type stuff and weaponry that is good for piercing hulls and damaging big other ships and constructs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so as long as we get on their ship, we're all right. At least for those defenses.
For those defenses, yeah. And then maybe we like, as you're like zooming in and looking and stuff like that, we get a shot of like a foreman or something like that calling up and like pointing at you and stuff and being like, hey, get down here, like we're all working or whatever. And then he like looks back to one of the workers and be like, go get that guy. And then you look back and you're gone or something, right? Yeah. Cool. Anybody else have ideas for gathering information?
I had something about like maybe getting an asset for the job. Not so much gathering information. Yeah. So I pictured like if they're gonna be tying off to these like aircraft carriers or whatever, then we'll have this like potential avenue of entry. And what I imagined is having like almost like some kind of almost like a portable gondola or like some kind of special repelling, like motorized repelling stuff where we just like quickly run up to the line, hook it up to ourselves, and it just like we just like fly through the air and get onto the ship. So I was hoping that like maybe I could get something or like buy something and then modify it like to our particular needs.
Sure. Let me check what tier you're going to be looking at for that. Coil. Okay, so they're 2 tiers ahead of you too. So you'll want some kind of equipment that is 2 tiers ahead. Also, I forgot to tell you guys too, everyone can start out with, let's bankroll the job a little bit and say that everybody can have like 2 jewels to start out with, which is coin in the sheet. It's okay. Like the money, right? The money stuffs. So you want to acquire an asset that is of similar tier or a little bit better or the same tier as you or something like that that will get
Yeah.
you onto the ship easily?
Yeah, well, specifically, I kind of wanted to find something that's not really made for that thing, and then roll a tinker to, or sorry, a modify to adjust it to what I need.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
That's
uh,
easier then, sure.
So how would I do that?
So acquiring an asset, you roll the ship's tier, which
Okay.
is a button on the crew sheet, actually.
Got it. Okay. So let me see if I'll pull that up. Constant gardeners, tier. Okay, so I'm just gonna roll that, right?
Yep.
And no bonus dice, right?
8. Cool. So 5 means that it's your tier. So it's
Super.
decent quality. It's
Cool.
not par, at least.
Okay.
And then you want to...
I want to modify that. Yeah.
Cool. And you're
So-
making like better climbing gear, basically, right? Like
Well, I
some-
figure it's like maybe some kind of rappelling thing for like some kind of like machine that hooks up on, like maybe it's used in the context of like rigging on a ship or something like that. And it's maybe just has some kind of like generic kind of hook onto which you attach some webbing or something like that. And I want to rig it to like hold people and like equipment so that we can just snap onto it super fast and roll it across this cable.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anyone want to help me?
Yeah. So
I could lend a hand there.
Sounds
Cool.
good. So I think we get a shot of like, what does our space look like, Fraser? Like, where are we?
the constant gardener space, or
Yeah,
are you
exactly.
guys, like, do you guys have like a staging ground for this?
I kind of pictured this like you said, a week ahead. So maybe we haven't even left yet. You know,
Okay.
like, do we have like a tool shed or something?
Yeah, so there is specific quarters that everybody has, right? There's a community garden space that is quite big with a gazebo type thing in the center of it. There's and then off to the side is basically, you could think of it as like apartment building surrounding like a big garden in the center, and that's where people live. And people have been like knocking down these buildings to make more space for the garden. And out back there is a shed in which Gabrish does all the data tattooing and stuff like that. So it's like the work place, right?
Right. Yeah. So I figure like maybe we're there and we see through a window, like the garden, like, you know, in the background, all sunlit and maybe bucolic looking. And then you just hear us swearing and struggling with like, fuck, you know, like with these, like, you know, trying to modify this thing. I've probably got like some kind of like homemade granola bar in my hand, you know, and I'm munching it as I go, and like it's falling into the little components and I'm like blowing them out. And yeah, I'm gonna modify. And I think you said you're gonna help me. Sorry, I don't remember your name, Michael.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So here it is, me rolling. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong sheet. And I'm gonna do position control, right?
Yeah, control position. And
Standard
do you
effect.
have any tools? Anything to increase your
Oh,
effect?
Good question. Do I have tools?
Well,
If I can find one version.
I've got some fine modification tools.
Yeah,
I'll
so
take
maybe
Make
you're
use of
using
those.
those. So you'll
right.
have great effect then.
Perfect. Amazing. And then am I gonna push myself? No. My guy wants to die, so maybe I should stress out.
I mean, it's controlled, so it's like, what's the? I guess if
yeah.
you're pushing your stress.
No, I'm not trying to die right now in this. It's like
Guy
it goes
building a
up.
rope.
No, you know what? I'll save my stress. Let's see what happens. All right.
Yeah, our obituary
one
is
bonus
like,
die.
he died building a rope system. That was pretty cool.
So I get a 5. Yeah.
Mini crit. Cool. Normally, I think it would be a long-term project to modify something, but since we're working on one-shot stuff, why don't we just say that I'll be like, you do the thing and there's a consequence. I think maybe when we get down to using the asset, if we get a roll that is mid-level or something, I might make something happen with that asset, like it breaks or it
Sure, that's fair.
does something.
I kind of wanted to fictionally position myself, so like the whole idea of getting something that's already kind of right was like trying to reduce that. But yeah, that's fair.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we'll make an appropriate consequence for it not being completely perfect.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So cool. Anybody else got some ideas to hit on those things that you need?
I had an information idea. I have this
Ooh.
device I made earlier, actually, to like recognize people's ID. Like I imagine everybody had an ID card in this future, so it could like tell when people were nearby.
Okay.
So I wanted to go to like the local vice purveyors and learn more about these people, right? Like who should we be on the lookout for, and
Okay.
maybe scan some IDs.
So, like, you mean when they are off duty and carousing type deal, you're in there trying to like get the data from their cards and seeing who they are and stuff, or
Yeah, I imagine like at a bar or something, I would see some of the workers, and when they go to the restroom or something, like go and scan their
sure, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. There is a local bar that I can never remember the name of. It's a very strange name that one of the players gave it in one of the first early sessions. By the docks where the porters all go, and so maybe like the crew that you're tailing and making this job for like a week before it or whatever, right? Are all in this bar, and I picture it very like retro noir, like bisexual lighting everywhere. You've got like really tall, whatchamacallit, like tables that require bar stools pulled up to it and stuff. There was like somebody said that there was like a weird ass vending machine that was kind of like Japanese style, where it was like you could get anything out of these vending machines, and they would kind of like be really finicky and rowdy. Where if like you hit it at a specific point, if you're a regular or whatever, it'll pop out some specific like pop or whatever, like some random item to you. The waitresses all have like whether real or not, they have like cybernetic left arms, and it's like a weird staple of the place. People don't know if it's like real or not, because it would be weird that all of the women would have only left arms that are cybernetic. Like there's all these weird ass urban stories about like if you work there, the owner like pays for your cybernetic left arm, or like chops off your arm and puts a cybernetic on it, and like all these weird ass stuff like that. And so yeah, these porters are like just come off a job. They're all like smelling like the salty sea and stuff, right? Except that there's a twist to it in this setting, because uh, pollution has become so rampant that like they smell like the like salty sea stuff as well, but there's like an element of like disgusting pollutants and stuff as well to it. So you get a nice little whiff of both of those things as you're in there, as well as maybe you're thinking about why everyone in here has a left arm cybernetic stuff going on. And so you're just like what, surreptitiously off in a booth scanning these people's cards, as like maybe we see one of them paying the waitress for something, and then it pops up on your reader, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Then maybe I'll go up to one and be like, "I see you work at the docks. I haven't been over there yet. What's it like?"
What are the docks like, or what is the sea like?
Both like working on a crew together, right? I'm sure it's very different than working on land here.
Yeah, well, he's like pretty deep into his cups. I think he's like a little like wobbly and shaky, right? He's got like a big beard. He's got like a toque on that's like pretty green, which gives off like, along with the lighting, it makes the toque look really strange, right? Because it's green. And he's got like a couple tattoos running down like from neck down, of different things, which is like not unusual for porters. And that's not the typical data tattooist ink. It's something that they get done out in the rust typically. And sorry, what was your question again?
I guess what's it like being on a crew, right? Like being responsible for each other. And
he says like a month or two ago I would have told you it was hell, but now things have looked up, and he kind of like in his swooning, you see like a pair of sunglasses that are like really strange looking. They look very like chemical and white. And if you
like you're wearing these,
kind of that, it's like a new in one of the other games, the Wired Crew, they have a drug that is induced by these glasses. So if you're like Underworld and Streetwise, you know of this. And basically they look like the typical cyberware mirror shade things, except they're white and they have like grooves in it. You put them on, you like click the button or whatever, and it flashes like in your eyes like it's a delivery system for the drug. And it's called Sunshine, and it basically makes people hallucinate and think that they are outside with the sun shining on their face and all that kind of stuff instead of in a ship. And
that's so cool.
All of that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah, that's a great idea.
They're making some bad money, as I said. The Wired Crew are like flush. But yeah, they directly sort of marketed their drug to these crews, and the drug is like so new that we don't know what side effects might be because it's only been on the market for like a month or two. But this guy's, loving it. You can see like he's got the disposable glasses on his inside pocket or whatever of his.
He's got like a reverse suntan just on his around his eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Like all burned there. So it's very typical cyberpunk imagery, right? But yeah, he's like, nowadays we're loving it, and you notice the sunshine glasses there.
But it can't go great all the time, right? Like, so what happens if something goes wrong? What do you do?
Are you like pressing for a specific information here?
I guess just trying to figure out the structure, right? Like who's in charge?
Oh, like the organizational structure of the ship and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, then he nods over at like another guy who's very tall and big, and let me pull up the NPC information for it. Sentinels, porters, cool. Yeah, so he like does a nod, and he's like, Victor's got us covered. He like kind of leans in conspiratorially with you, right? And he's like, Redrick is getting pushed out. Victor is the new thing, right? He's basically just really drunk and mouthing off, basically, right? And saying that Victor is the captain over there, and you can tell he's got like a sort of rust symbol, like lapel thing on there. And it's a little bit different than everybody else's. All the other porters have similar markings, but it's not of the rust. It's of the general like crew status here.
Mm.
Not where they're officially born, which means that Victor is probably like a part of the founding family of the people that run the rust, right?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's quite some information.
Yeah, but do you want to press him on something specific and then ask me a gather information thing?
Sure. Well, I know before we kept going to these to like antechamber, what's it called? Right? Like everybody had No, never mind. There's a like on the airship. There was the area that was blocked off from everything else.
Oh, like the quarantine area?
The quarantine area, yeah. So I guess I'm wondering if the ships have something like that, like someplace they'll all go in case of an emergency.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, that'll definitely be a gather information thing. So how do you think you're doing it? Are you schmoozing him like sway or what? How do you feel your action is going to be going in this scene to try to get this information from him?
I think it's like a consort. Like we already had an airship, so I'm trying to like go back and forth with him about how like a boat is different than an airship, you know?
Oh, okay. So you guys are like exchanging stories about your ships as if they're like doing the typical sailor thing, like my woman has got a heavy flank, right? Cool. Okay, so roll up consort, and similarly, how well you do on your roll, I'll give you detailed too. Less
Cool.
information.
It's controlled standard.
6. Sweet. So you get good information. What is the specific question that you want answered? And bear in mind that you want to find the plan's detail, expose a vulnerability of the target, or hit them where they're weakest, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, the plan is to wait for a hurricane to come, right? So I'm wondering where they're going to be in a hurricane, right? So we can.
Well, you know that already, right? Like you know that they're going to be going to this location. Maybe the guy just reiterates it, right? He says like we're going to be going.
I mean, like in the ship, right?
In
like
the ship.
There's another place to control the ship, even when they're hunkered down.
Okay, so like when the ship's on lockdown, where does everybody go in it, right? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, what would a name? We'll call it like the safe room is too generic, right? But there is essentially a safe room where
The emergency control room.
Yeah, emergency control room. It's called the saucer section. But yeah, I think they go to something similar like that. Basically, they go to a room that has like a membrane, like a bladder around it, so that if the ship gets hit really hard, they're insulated from this, right? And it's within the decks in particular because when acts of God get pretty crazy, you can't be out on the deck, but even inside in the interior can get dicey. But the system is like set up so that the sort of like AI systems on the ship will do all of the things that they need to do to get rid of like the water and like drainage and make sure the electricity is going and insulated and stuff. And those people weather the storm and the bladder and can still drive the ship if need be. Yeah, there should be a cool name for it, but all I can think of is like safe room and like bladder and stuff.
I found windlass room. That sounds cool. That's
Sure.
like the things you tie it to the docks, right?
Sure.
Or
Yeah,
anchor, I guess.
that sounds better than bladder. Let's go with that. Cool. And then because you got a 6, you have a follow-up question as well. So do you have anything else?
Does anyone else have a question to ask? No.
I mean, I guess you could ask about the internal security because we know a little bit about their like anti-ship defenses, but like if they were boarded or if they, what kinds of security systems they have on deck.
All right.
Yeah. Perhaps what kind of detail they have, as far as, along the lines of figuring out, is it a crew of 5 that are going to be heavily armed, or do they just got a bunch of batons?
Right. Yeah. So how well they're armed and how many there are. So, I think he'll say like the crew varies from like 6 to 12 essentially, depending on what kind of job they're pulling, and they're like he's pretty low on the totem pole. They don't tell him beforehand who like how big the crew is being stocked beforehand. But it's always 6 to 12 because that's what the vessel is going to be like manned with. All like 12 is the maximum that it can be functioning with operationally, right? And as far as armed, he says like 2 or 3 of us were in the military, and he would kind of like lifts up his arm and shows like a tat or whatever for like, you know, some military thing like 51st Airborne, that kind of shit, right? But most people, they've just been on the seas, and like he points at a couple others and he's like, that guy has been fishing all his life. He couldn't start a fight if he wanted to. So it's most of them are just fishermen, and with 3 or 4 of them being like ex-military, and coincidentally, maybe not coincidentally, the ones that are mostly running the ship, right? So the people that aren't the fishermen have kind of ousted the fishermen people and taken leadership positions outside of it. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Ed, do you have a thing in mind?
I think it's been covered already. I had a similar thought, but I think we're good. I think questions I was curious about got answered.
Cool. Okay. So let's go to engagement, and then remember to, aside from this engagement roll, which we can't modify, after we get the engagement roll, which tells us the position of which you'll be hitting the first obstacle, there's always the opportunity to do flashbacks and circumvent certain obstacles in creative ways. So just bear that in mind. So keeping that in mind, the plan is still the same, right? You're basically waiting for them to hit a specific act of God, right? On the way to coming back to Shelter 1, taking shelter in a like ship graveyardy type place, right? That Victor, as a experienced seaman, knows about and goes to for his weathering of storms. And from there, you're gonna like launch your attack and ostensibly kill them all and take the ship, right? Cool. Okay, so let's compile this. Let's look for the engagement roll here. So when doing the engagement roll, you get +1 for sheer luck, right? You get another one for being particularly bold and daring. I think taking on a group of people that will either be 2 above you or triple your size is pretty bold and daring. Also, harpooning their ship, basically. And it's all seems pretty bold and daring to me.
During a hurricane. Don't forget the hurricane.
During a hurricane, right. And yeah, so you got two dice for that. Is the operation particularly complex or contingent? It seems like we board and kill you now, so no. And does it expose a vulnerability to the target or hit them where they're weakest? I'd say yes, because you're not attacking them with another ship. You're launching with your personnel forces, and there's only a couple military people on board, so they would be weakest against this attack. Are they strongest against this approach? No. So you still have 3 dice. Friends and contacts were giving you the fictional positioning of your we're kind of like hand waving the normal setup of getting out there and acquiring assets and stuff like that, and rolling it into you getting help from your split P contacts that owe you quite a bit, right? Any enemies or rival interfering at the moment. We don't know enough about your enemies or rivals at the moment to do so, so no. But that being said, right now you're at 4 dice. You get 1 down because it's a much higher tier than you, right? And I'm going to actually take it away 1 more because you're doing it in the eye of a hurricane type thing, right? So I'm going to bake that into the engagement roll. So you get 2 dice. I'm going to roll it. What this means is if you fail the roll, you'll be in a desperate situation. If you get a mid result, you'll be in a risky situation. And if you get a 6, you'll be in a controlled position for the first obstacle. So let's see what we end up with. A 5. So you're just in a risky situation. Makes sense, I think. Right. So first let's well, we only have 50 minutes, but I want to kind of set the scene a little bit with this. So we kind of know a little bit about this place. You said that there's 2 sort of like derelict ships, all rusty and stuff like that, that they go into to buffet the storm, right? Like they're kind of like in the safety of these derelict vessels. Do you picture them as like how old and messed up are they? Like, have they been cannibalized so that there's things jetting out of them, or are they just sort of like capsized ships, or what are you thinking in your head?
Yeah, I imagine like essentially what I imagine is like there's like what are they called? Like an inlet, I guess you could say, or a fjord. And on either side of this fjord, this like shelter area, like you can't get too close to the shore because there's like shallows and you're gonna bottom out. But there's these like jutting out long ships. Like maybe on one side it's like a huge oil tanker, and on the other side is maybe like a slightly overturned or side turned. No, let's make the oil tanker like overturned a bit, and then like the aircraft carrier, like an old rusted out aircraft carrier from like the early 21st century, just like rusted out and like useless, kind of projecting. Both of these ships, I imagine, kind of projecting into this inlet, or like kind of like choke point in this fjord, and because of how they're located, you can tie off between them and like be in deep water and not have to worry about like bottoming out. And I imagine that they kind of have their like, because they're harpooning like these glaciers. So I figured they've harpooned these boats and they've got them on winches to kind of absorb, and like the way that, because you don't want it to be totally tight because you don't want it to break off because it's so much force, but like maybe it's like kind of absorbing the thing and keeping them in place in this bit of shallow or deep water.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. And we know that like a hurricane is happening. Maybe we see some like other twisters moving around and shit like that, right? It's all very dystopic. And so if you're doing this close to the rust, there's a unique thing that happens here where the kind of pollutants that spilled here create like a hallucinogenic effect that the people from the rust are immune to, because they have lived here the whole time. As you don't and you move away, your body doesn't generate an immunity. And part of the risk here, I think, is that you are doing this well. So here's a question: are you doing this like they have piloted the boat here? We know that if things get pretty bad, they're going to retreat into the bowels of the ship and go into the windscreen thing, right? So are you hitting them at the point where they are just about to do this? Like, do we see the yellow lights flashing on the ship and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, get below decks, shit's happening, right? Or have they already retreated and you're like infiltrating this ship where they have already retreated into like the bladder thing, right? What's more fun for people?
If
I would
go for
go
it.
ahead.
There
No,
you go. Well, one idea would be if we ambush them, we could potentially ambush them as they're headed towards that kind of safety area. If we kind of know what their kind of plan is in that circumstance, we could ambush them or do something else to kind of clearly like counteract that and work off of their plan. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's exactly what I was thinking. Just during the build-up, so there's still an opportunity to catch people in transit, or as they're pulling levers, getting things ready to go into that safe space.
Yeah. It gives you more freedom as the edge too, right?
Yeah,
I picture like like the same idea from like Alien, where they're like, where did Jim go? Like Jim's like, maybe we should send a couple people out to go find him.
And I can go and impersonate him.
Yeah, Jim's right there. That's not Jim. That's no moon. Cool. Okay, I like that a lot. Okay, so we get part of the risk here, I think, is that as players, we know that the winds and stuff like that are dredging up all of this like toxic chemicals and all that. Your characters don't know that. and then also the normal risk of infiltrating the ship while things are going. I think you'll have it. It makes sense that it's risky and not desperate because things are so chaotic and they're just starting to like batten down the hashes and like run around and secure things and all of that kind of stuff, right? So on the opening shot of things, do we see you all like on these ships with this acquired tech ready to like bolt into, like shoot these ropes into them and careen down, or what?
I know exactly. So I'm on the prow of the battleship. I'm like in between two giant cannon, like just lying on the ground, like watching their ship through a scope. And I've got like my, my characteristic granola bar, like munching on it and kind of maybe talking over the radio, kind of informing people what's going on the surface. And I've got a drone, right? And it's wired up to a contact lens. And I figure it's like hovering, or no, it's probably like found a place just to stay still because the winds are probably like really turbulent. So it's probably like sitting somewhere like on the side of the ship or like in a bundle on the ship, kind of ready for when I might need it. But I don't imagine hovering because it's going to be hard to control in the weather.
Cool. And what does the drone look like?
Yeah, so I kind of pictured it. Yeah, I think well, he's old school, right? Like my dude is like man, I don't even remember his name right now. Colt. Yeah, I think people call him because he's got a hyphenated last name, so I don't think anyone calls him Colt. I think they either call him Kowalczyk or Moretti, because no one wants to say the full thing. And I figure he's got like an old school drone, and it looks kind of like our drones now, like right now, like the 4-point helicopter kind of deal. And it's probably like antique, and he's probably got some wired on some like new technology onto it, and he like prides himself in like keeping this antique drone.
Cool. I like it. Okay, so first action, is it going to be a group action for everybody getting onto the ship? Is that what people are thinking? Or do people have other plans and don't want to be a part of that group action?
So part of the reason I had decided on this like harness contraption modification thing is I imagined that I'd be sitting here, like between these cannon, kind of firing my cannon off and blowing people up on the surface of the ship, and then when I need to, just strap this thing on and just like fly onto the ship.
So you're waiting and like doing cover and pot shotting people and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what about Shimmer? What's Shimmer's plan with this?
I think I'm going onto the ship, hopefully undetected. Maybe like set some kind of like trap to like ambush and blow a couple guys up, and then kind of slip back into hiding, or if I'm with APOC, then we can kind of start the fight from there. But I don't want to like take people head on by myself. I kind of want to do like a hit and run attack on a few people.
Cool. Okay. And APOC, what's your plan?
Yeah, I mean, it is a full frontal assault, but I guess I might actually wait for the signal maybe from Moretti, in the sense that I don't want to reveal any positions. I don't want to jump the gun and have things go south.
Okay, cool. And what about Hicks?
Yeah, I want to get on the boat too.
You want to be?
Sounds good.
Do you want to infiltrate the boat, or do you want to have already, like, are you going to do a flashback or whatever where you're like, I am the crew?
That would be interesting. Yeah, maybe like after that night, I went and talked to him some more, right, and got on the crew somehow.
Cool. So do you want to do a flashback of that? You can take one stress, do a flashback of that, and then we'll just say that you're a part of the crew already.
All right, that sounds good.
You're in the fatigue, so make sure you guys don't just kill anyone, right? Because be careful where you're aiming.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't have another session.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it sounds like maybe after pulling the table, it looks like maybe Colt, you're kind of going to be signaling people when the attack is happening with a entry salvo or something like that, and that's when you guys are sneaking around and killing people. But before that, why don't we have a roll with APOC and Shimmer actually infiltrating the ship from their initial positions, which sounds like a group action of Ghost to me. Is that how you guys think you're doing it? It sounds like both of you are like being real sneaky, getting on the ship so nobody can see you and you don't start some shit, right?
Right.
Yeah. How does a group action work?
So group action means that both of you are going to roll Ghost, but we're going to take the highest result. And
Okay.
whoever is leading that is taking stress for anybody that fails, including themselves.
And will this be risky standard?
Yeah, it'll be risky standard unless you have a item who is for the person leading the action. So who is leading it? Do we think?
I've got 2 in Ghost,
I've got 3.
and you can lead.
I don't think
Yeah.
it matters. It doesn't matter. It's just the person taking the stress.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just who fictionally is kind of leading it when we're looking at the scene, and it makes sense for the Edge to be doing that probably over the Torque, right?
I guess so. So, we haven't talked about load, by the way.
Yeah, so everyone can pick their load. I think in this situation, there's no reason not to go heavy, but it's up to you.
I also forgot to mention that I have a cybernetic for my ghosting, and I
Okay.
imagine what it is. It's like some kind of like sound dampening kind of shimmery field around me that doesn't like it's not like an invisibility thing or something like that. It just like it almost like I think it works together with my fatigues, and so it like I blend in and like my sound. Like the sound vibrations coming off of me are dampened. Like there's like a canceling noise feature or something that sends out the opposite and like dampens the. So I imagine that even like as the camera's zooming in on me, like where I'm crawling, like where I'm like planted looking through my scope. At first, you can't really tell I'm there, and then as it gets closer, you can kind of see me.
Right. Cool. I like that. So let's have you two sneak on, and then we'll probably have Colt start the badness happening to them, and then we'll cut to Hicks infiltrating it up. Oh, and you got a crit, so that's
Nice.
good.
Yeah.
So that's good, and you didn't fail, so that's even better. So no stress and a crit. So that means you get an additional benefit or effect from this situation. First of all, though, I want you to tell me what this scene looks like, right? How do you begin and how do you get on the ship?
Michael, do you have any specific ideas, or you want me to just?
I don't have anything specific, so you can go for it. I thought we were using some kind of version of that kind of rappel that
Everyone has climbing gear, so you could just be doing something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps we've got some, I don't know, some sort of special device or special attachments that, fire hooks and cabling off, from the derelict that we're on onto the ship that we want to get to. The wind's blowing, rain is flying in our face, and, sort of cinematically, it's like you can see us sort of swaying in the wind as we make our way slowly across. And, there's that point in time where, you're hanging on by your fingers, or, the device you're holding onto sort of catches and locks, but, we make it across.
I also imagine it's like you purposely don't make it tight so that you're hanging low and like the waves are just like coming in underneath you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And are you guys are both of your characters military styling up with do you have the camo gear on with the face paint and all that kind of stuff, or how do you picture your characters looking in the scene?
Michael, I'll defer to you.
I'm in all black, with a hood up as well. I don't think I have any face paint though. I think my hair is all tied up. I'm just ready for the job basically.
Yeah, I apologize. I gotta use shimmer. Yeah, and I'm in similar style. Just probably a poncho or a hoodie that dark shade of gray that blends in with the water and with the storm.
Cool. And then do we want to make, I kind of for an additional benefit, what if you do the come down on the line and do the Metal Gear Solid thing where when you land there's a guy there and you've already choked them out or something like that? Or do you use a blade and kill them? Is everybody dying in this? What what is the level of lethality?
Yeah, absolutely. As we come down, we land on the shoulders of a guy and we just twist his head and he drops like a pile of bricks.
Cool. Snap, setting the tone.
Just a flesh wound.
Yeah, cool. And then we
I'll toss him off the side of the ship into the storm so that nobody finds the body.
Nice.
Covering our tracks here.
Cool. And then
I think I can see this happening through my drone, and I'm just smirking and like eating like my granola bar as if it was popcorn.
nice. And then we'll cut to Cole. How do you get this party started, Cole?
I think like I'm like sucking my fingers, getting the last little bit of stuff off my hand, and I think you just like you're kind of seeing me looking through the scope from the front, and I'm just grinning, and like you just see the recoil of the rifle go poof, and I just hit like somebody, anybody, doesn't even matter, and it's like probably super windy and like just the first person that just I'm like that guy, I don't like that guy, and just take a shot.
Okay, so what do you think that action is?
I mean, I'm gonna say it's a trace.
That sounds right.
Yeah, maybe you know what? Like, do I have any like do I have any intuition about like maybe who's higher up in the hierarchy? Like when I'm aiming.
Oh, like you want to go officer down, like
Yeah, I would love to
against
just
them?
take up someone higher, like a more senior decision maker. That way, it
Shoot
causes more
Victor.
chaos.
Sure.
I mean, if I could see Victor, I would love to shoot Victor.
Well, then how about this? How about that sounds like you're advocating for a desperate rule instead of a risky one,
Sounds great.
but with
Love
great
it.
effect instead of standard taking
Yeah.
out Victor.
Also, I would say that I have scout. When you hide in a prepared position, use camouflage to get +1d to rolls in regards to avoiding detection.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that's avoiding detection though, not taking someone's head off.
Right. But if presuming this works, I
Right,
want
right.
to mention I have that. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so desperate, great effect. Do you have any other items that you'd like to use?
Yes, I have a fine scope.
Cool. So extreme effect.
Yeah. So I'll just click off arcane influence in here. I have a fine. Oh, actually, let's just use a fine long range rifle. Or does that
Okay.
already have a scope on it, or do I have to click all three? How does that work?
So long range rifle, and then you want to scope for extreme distances.
Okay, so all three of those. So that'll be half my load.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
And mark XP for this desperate action as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Cool. All right. I want to push myself. Yeah, I'll push myself for another. So I'll take 2 stress,
Cool.
and I'll push myself for another. So I'll take 1 bonus die. So I'm gonna click my hunt. I'm gonna go desperate, and I will go extreme effect. Please, baby, let's see this guy's head turn into confetti. Bonus die 1. Yes.
Nice. 6. So tell me what it looks like on screen. Yeah, you do the
So
thing.
I think the way it looks, like we get the shot of him from the front, we just see the recoil, and then like maybe we get a panning shot for like the next scene. Like you don't really get to see what happened to the victim, but as the camera pans, you just see kind of in the distance like some like slumped over figure and just like blood splatter like everywhere, and no head where his head used to be.
No head, no scope. Well, it is a scope though. Cool. I love it. Okay, so the leader, while he was, I guess, probably mustering the crew and trying to like get everybody to go down, just as down. Pandemonium. Okay, so Hicks, we cut to you. What are you up to? What are you doing?
I want to use my hacking skills, so I think maybe this shot is like a signal that that they're here, right? And I'll know to try to like unlock the doors or turn off the security systems.
Right.
So I
Sounds
wanna
good.
hack into those.
Cool. So roll your hack. I think you're in a controlled position. Nobody is thinking that you're going to be doing some shit right now. And standard effect. And then you can increase your effect with items if you have any that are pertinent.
I have fine hacking gear.
Great effect.
So control, great.
Cool. And you're kind of like taking charge of the ship, essentially? Or what?
Yeah, I think I'll also mark like a screen so I can control the ship from the screen.
Oh, cool. Sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna make a 6 clock for that. And you got a mid result, which is 2 ticks towards it. Oh, great effects. So you get 3 ticks, so you're halfway there. Let's see. Mid result though on a hack, risky situation or controlled situation. Sorry. So controlled situation, you hesitate, withdraw, or try a different approach, or else do it with a minor consequence, minor complication, reduced effect, lesser harm. You end up in a risky position. Yeah. So I think what ends up happening is this clock looks like time, right? Like you start doing this stuff, and I think that this is kind of like when some pandemonium erupts, because you look over and like I think just a little ways away from where Victor's head was taken off, there's a person who now like was turned to you, said something, they went to go look and get like after Victor, and then when they were about to like round the corner of the deck, they see Victor's head like get blown right off, right? And they turn back to you and see that you're like doing something, and they start like raising an alarm unless you want to resist a consequence.
That sounds like a great invitation.
To resist a consequence? Do you want to be discovered and found out or not?
I mean, I could be in a position like to like plow in there and like, you know, as they kind of come after you, like I could be like ready to ambush them. That would be one option here.
Yeah, you can definitely do a protect action and face the danger instead of Hicks, and that would make sense, I guess. Like when we see the guy turn to Hicks and be like, "Oh shit, Hicks is like hacking something," that's when you're behind them and like fuck them up or whatever, right? Cool. So
I was planning to just give him some more work because we're on this thing.
Go clean the ship.
Yeah.
Either way, go for it.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yours sounds interesting too.
Okay, so what do you think you are doing for taking this man's attention away from Hicks?
That sounds like a command. Right?
Well, this would be a protect action on Shimmer's. So Shimmer would be rolling a resistance roll for insight, prowess, or resolve. Do you think it's how exactly are you doing it? How do you get their attention? Do they just?
I mean, like my hope was to like ambush them, either with like explosives or just like a fucking sledgehammer, and like, you know, plow through these guys before they're able to actually like while they're like starting to like focus on her, like I kind of come in from like, you know, from like the side and just like, you know, if not like completely like destroy them, like at least like kind of throw them against like the wall and like completely like ambush them, and, you know, do whatever I can to, you know, take them off. What's her name? Take them off Hicks, and beyond that, like if I can like kill them, then great.
Okay, well, first we're gonna do a resist, and then we're gonna do your attack roll.
Okay.
So for the resistance, it's just you telling me how they don't raise the alarm about Hicks. So it could just be them, like it sounds like you're just attacking them.
I'm coming in swinging with the sledgehammer, so it's probably going to be prowess, I would guess.
Yeah, so you'll roll as many dice in the left-hand column of prowess that you have to resist it.
On that front.
And no stress at all. You guys are having some good luck. First time.
We're very talented.
Yeah, and then so that works perfectly. So you're coming in at them, and it sounds like you're... so here's a question. Is this you doing that alone, or is this a group action with Colt and Shimmer both coming at these folks and messing them up and whatnot.
I still think I'm like waiting in my thing, my little hideout.
I could certainly assist if I'm in the space. I mean,
So,
I think
do we
Go
want
ahead.
to do a group action with everybody then? Like messing these people up then? Like we see shots of Colt shooting, we see shots of Shimmer messing people up, and we see Colt doing the thing as well? Or do we want separate actions to achieve our goals?
Would we have a bigger effect on a group action? Like if it's like the three of us, like would we be able to like mostly take over the boat at that point? Like in terms of the other people on it?
So far I'll show you what I got. Porters, we've got 3 ticks on this clock here. What you want to be doing with a group action is you'll have scale up to whatever you're doing. So instead of one person taking out one person, you could have the 3 of you taking on like 6 people or something and having equal opportunity. And then with that effect, yeah, you'll be making more ticks. However, it might not be as fruitful as individual actions making ticks towards the clock. Because if people get 6s on 3 different actions, then you're getting 3 ticks on the clock each instead of probably like 4 or 5 or something like that together. But on the flip side, it would be probably you not failing because 3 people are rolling their trace or combat or whatever, right?
Do we all have to be rolling the same thing or no?
Yeah, for a group action, everybody rolls the same action.
Yeah, so I mean that doesn't really make sense for me since I'm doing trace unless you guys are all doing trace as well.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So are you 2 on the ground leading a group action of combat, and then we'll have the support from Colt tracing?
I think that's what it sounds like. What do you think, Michael? I mean, Shimmer.
You said group action on like combat?
Yeah.
I was really trying to push Rec there because I am not good at combat. But if it's a group action, I guess that doesn't matter as much.
I think ultimately, I mean, we're trying to sort of intimidate these guys so that they leave Hicks. I mean, they don't, jump on Hicks. I mean, is that the goal?
Well,
I mean, is that?
I wonder if we could push. I know, like we're not on their radar yet. I wonder if we could push like Ghost on like a kind of like ambush and kill kind of thing.
Definitely. That is what that is for. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So if we're pushing that angle, like that's a group action that both of us are pretty good at.
Yeah. Do you want to do that then?
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so let's see. I rolled and there was 8 people, and 2 people are definitely dead already. So there's 6 people, and let me just roll fortune to see how many people are up here at the moment. Okay, so it's the benefit. So we'll say that there's 3 people up. And so your scale is pretty much equal with them. So you're in a risky situation, standard effect, unless you want to bring in items, depending on who is leading the group action. You can use an item to get better effect. And yeah.
Just so I situate myself again, we're using Ghost, or were we using?
Sounds like Ghost. You're like sneakily taking them all out, right? Like you're
got it.
Like Mike was saying, it's the aliens thing, right? Where you're like, what happened?
Got it.
John is gone. Oh no, John's gone. Fear.
And you said risky standard.
Risky standard.
Might as well use 2 stress to just ramp this up and make sure that this is so critical that we just do this right.
I might have an item that could help us here, especially if we're taking them out silently. I've got the mag pistol,
nice.
which is like basically like a silent handgun, from what I can tell.
Sweet. So are you leading the action? It sounds like it because you did the resistance too, right?
Sure.
So, sweet. Okay. So great effect. Oh wow, you guys are rolling really well. Okay.
Yeah, my goodness.
It's a good thing you pushed yourself there. Sweet. Okay, so 6, and again, no stress. And that is 3 ticks. So depending on the lens, if you can keep it up, lens,
Yeah,
they'll be dead. So,
yeah.
well, wait, let me get them to just. So you just killed 3 people, and did it perfectly. So tell me what that scene looks like, y'all, both of you.
Would you go first, Michael?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they were like, they were starting to go after Hicks, which is, as according to the plan, like, we'll be, waiting for if they catch on to Hicks, like, I'll be, we'll made it aboard the boat, we'll both be in position, and I'm kind of, they're kind of coming down, like, racing down the deck of the ship when, we see, there's like not even a bang. It's just like a whoosh sound. And like, one of them just gets like headshotted, and like, slips and falls on the deck. And I'll let Edge come in from there.
Yeah. And it's, again, cinematically, maybe I spin around him and, take another guy and using a knife to sort of slit his throat cinematically again. He drops down, and then that leaves the third guy, Shimmer.
Another, I guess, like 2 shots in the chest this time, or actually like 1 shot, and then I'll just race up and like that first shot like kind of like staggers him, and I'll just like shoulder him, and he goes flying off of the deck, like he tumbles over the guardrail, and he's lost to the storm now.
Nice, I like it. Okay, so that's 3 people plus 5. So there's 3 people left, if I'm counting correctly, from 8. Right? Cool. So then we cut back up to Colt hiding.
Yeah.
Roosting.
Yeah. Actually, no, I think at this point he's like got this like climbing body harness thing on, and he's like wiping his it's like raining, and he's like wiping his sticky hands off on his pants. And he kind of like falls into this harness and is kind of like underneath, and he's kind of a pudgy guy, and he's sort of awkward. He's got this big rifle on his back, and he starts like the like little rigging device starts to kind of slide forward, and you're like, oh, this is going to take forever. And then he kind of looks at his wrist and he presses a button, and then just like a rocket booster, just like, and he's like flying through the air. And I imagine the winch is like connected like a little bit higher off the deck. And like, as he's flying through the air, he takes out a pistol off his belt and just like takes a couple shots.
Cool. Okay, so what action do you think you're doing there?
I think I'm going to go with the hunt again.
Cool.
And I think I want to position it for desperate.
Okay, yeah. If you with 3 people versus 1, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So desperate. Do you have any items that can boost you to great effect on this?
Let's see here.
Otherwise, standard.
Let's see. Do I have any items? Oh, I have a fine crafted handgun. That would do it.
Boom. There you go. Great
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And mechanically, desperate is like.
Yeah.
That's like you
Yeah.
get messed up real good, right? Okay. That's good.
Exactly why I did it. Yeah. And then I think what I'll do is I will push myself on 2 stress.
Okay.
And I'll take an extra bonus die. All right. So here goes. Desperate. And then we said great. And then 1 bonus die. And good luck. Good luck. Oh.
All right. So mid result, you do the thing, right?
Yeah.
So you do kill them. However, so there's your clock. It's nice and full. Take that in. Drink it in. Because
I was just setting it up for you, Fraish. I wanted you to get your chance to screw up my rigging.
yeah. So desperate roll, you do it, but there's a consequence. You suffer severe harm. A serious complication occurs. You have reduced effect. So I know that you wanted to die. You will. That's 4 harm unless you use armor and resistance. But
Yeah.
I want it to be cinematically cool, and I'm having a little bit of trouble making it seem cool with you getting shot as you're like in a harness coming down. What do you think would be neat?
I mean, like, it would be cool if like I take the shots, but like they fire and like the rigging gets unclipped, and I just like fly through the air and go into like a box of like material, like metal, like who knows, like I just slide on the deck, eat
Or
it.
if you wanted to die too, it could be like something to do with the storm as well, right? Like maybe they hit your rigging and you go flying, and it's sort of like one of those scenes where it's mysterious,
Oh
like
yeah,
ambiguous if you're gonna die or not because
right,
you're
right.
careening into the storm.
Yeah. Well, and to be clear, like I don't want to push the I want to die angle too hard. I think he's just like toying, he's like he's hard on himself, let's put it that way. So don't try to kill me every time, Fraser, please.
Well, it's up to you. So you can do a resistance roll for that
so
and use armor, right?
Yeah, so I think what I'm gonna do is totally that. I'm gonna because I've already clicked. Let's see here. I've clicked 4 already. Oh no, I think I've clicked 5. So I don't even think I can have armor actually, unless do we have any bonus from our crew or no?
Oh, let me check. That's a good thought. Do they have rigging? Oh, they don't.
Ooh, okay. So no armor for me, I don't think, because I use climbing gear as like because I've got my scope, which I just clicked off a spyglass on the thing, the fine long rifle, and then I used a fine
or any of any of those things in italics.
Oh yeah, actually they are.
Yeah.
The fine scope is on italics, so I do have one extra. So then I can click up the armor, so that reduces it to level 3 harm, right?
Yeah, and then you can resist to level 2 if you like.
Yeah, and I guess I'll resist with prowess. That makes
Sounds
sense.
good.
Yeah, I don't have very good prowess. I'm not exactly a prowessy kind of guy, but let's see what happens. Bonus die 0, 3. So I take 3 stress.
Yeah. So
Cool.
instead of careening into the mouth of a hurricane, what happens?
So I fly through the air. I think I hit the deck and go over the edge of the ship. And let's see here. I think like the camera pans over the edge and like everyone's expecting for me to be like holding on with one hand or something, like, the classic. And like maybe you even see like a glove on the edge as if it seems that, but it like passes the glove and the glove is just a glove. And like I'm on like a safety boat on the side of the ship, just like, like just rolling around on my back, like Jesus Christ.
Well, do you want a one-liner?
Are you offering me a one-liner, or do you want me to make up a one-liner?
Oh, I don't have one.
Oh yeah, hit me. Go ahead.
It would be appropriate, right?
Yeah, hit me with your one-liner.
Oh, I don't have one.
Oh, you're asking me, right? One-liner. I'd be like, maybe I had like, I don't know, like in my backpack I had like a cake or something, or like cookies, and I'm just like, that's how the cookie crumbles.
Okay. Sounds good. And then we cut to Hicks. So Hicks, from your perspective, you were hacking the thing. The guy turned to you to raise an alarm, and then they got all fucked up real good. You're halfway on the clock of infiltrating the ship's systems. Do you want to try to complete that?
I don't know. I feel like by the time I complete it, it's just going to be over.
Well, aren't you hijacking the ship so that you can take it wherever you're going?
Yeah, but I'm thinking of just going to the safe room immediately, since they still think I'm part of the ship.
Well, everybody's dead, so yeah.
Everybody?
Like,
I thought we still had a few people.
Nope.
Okay.
They're all dead now. But like what I'm picturing is you need to crack the safe room, right? Like to get into it, because you don't know how to get in there, right? You're a part of the crew, but only I think Victor would have been able to get the door open. He was the first one to get shot in the head.
Yeah, Extreme blew up his head.
All right. Yeah, so I'll keep hacking away.
What does it look like on camera, your hacking gear and what you're doing and all that?
It's a good question. Well, I have this screen, so probably have that plugged into the ship, and I'm like writing on it and.
So it's like a tablet-looking thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Everyone else thinks you're playing an iOS game, but you're actually like hacking intricate systems with a stylus.
Of course. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Give me the hack, and you've got a great effect, right? Because you've got fine gear.
I thought I needed it because they were higher too, right? Higher tier. But I guess not.
Yes.
What? So, what is the position?
You're in a control position, I think. You're.
And still.
Yeah, well, you
Okay.
were gonna. I tried to escalate it, but they died.
That's true.
So actually, yeah, we'll say that is risky.
Well, I do have rootkit. Take +1d and +1 effect when hacking above your tier. Would that work?
Okay. Yeah, so you'll have extreme effect on that and +1d, but it'll still be a risky position. Because I think if the what's online or what the stake is for the role is that maybe the system will get out burst transmissions saying that it's like being hacked and stuff like that, which maybe I can use to fuck with the crew next session.
All right. Sounds good.
What'd you get for? Good. Yes, it goes out. So transmission goes out. Cool. So, all right. So you get it open, and the transmission logs off. Maybe like your screen goes staticky for a second, right? Like you know how when your screen is close to a cell phone that's communicating and stuff like that, it does that thing. That happens for like just a second, and then it clears up, and you're like, "Oh, good, nothing. It's
Got
fine."
him.
Right? Unless you want to resist the
After my
consequence, but
sermon.
you shouldn't. You shouldn't resist the consequence. Do you want to resist the consequence of this transmission going up?
I don't know how I would.
Well, it's however you want. Resistance rules always work, so it's just like if you can think of a way to do it, it happens.
That's all right. I'll let it.
Good, good.
They're gonna go up.
Sounds good.
That's
Okay.
basically what they asked for. So
Let's do quick epilogues then. So the thing is like hacked. What do we imagine the end of this job being? Just like you like porting yourself into an alternate location that the split peas had arranged for you or something like that, delivering the ship?
So I imagine actually like we get a scene because I don't think we ever established that we knew how many porters are on the ship. So like I imagine like we get a shot of like there's like a porthole on the window and I'm like have like a busted rib and I'm like smashing the porthole and then like it's clear to the audience that I can't actually fit the porthole, but then we get like a smash cut to me inside the ship and everyone's like, wait, how did he get through that window? And then like I'm like maybe like throw like a grenade, like a smoke grenade or something into like this like chamber, this like emergency chamber, the safety room, and I like run in there and like there's nothing in there, it's just a bunch of, and so then I just like message people on the radio like there's nobody left.
Cool. And then so after that, is that the plan? You just like sail to a black market port or whatever, and they are going to cannibalize the ship or repurpose it or whatever, and get some water for your gardens and lots of money.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I don't know if the crew needs this kind of like iceberg hauler vessel on it. I mean, I don't know.
It would be hot as fuck, I think.
Yeah,
if you kept
I was just thinking.
it,
I imagine. Yeah, sorry. I imagine Hicks has like wired into some kind of like auto like pilot like navigation system or something like that, and like we're just like we're on vacation almost on like this cruise boat. Like maybe we find some champagne and we're like it's on autopilot and we're like kicking back,
weathering the storm.
Sweet, I like that.
And you pull out and see this giant storm outside.
Yeah. Cool. So for a normal score, you get 2 rep. Plus
oh, wait. Sorry. One last thing. And then like we all get a scene of us like sitting on these like Muskoka chairs or something. And we all put our sunglasses on and the sunshine just fills our...
Oh, so you're all taking drugs too? Cool. So it looks like the crew will max out on rep because they only have 1 place left for it. They would have gotten 3 anyway, so maybe I'll just say 2 extra. And Coin, I think this was a major score. So probably 12 joules. Because you're selling off the ship and getting this water and stuff. I don't know what would be bigger than that. So that was pretty good. I will
So you
put...
split that, or we split that, right?
Yeah, it's 12 like total, and then you split it however you like. And heat-wise, interesting. So it's pretty smooth and quiet, low exposure. 2 heat, contained. 4 heat, loud and chaotic. 6 heat, wild, devastating exposure. I think it's pretty smooth and quiet or contained, something between that, right? Like low exposure and standard. There could be some heat accrued from the way that things were sourced for information, is how I'm thinking that. I think the actual, with the transmission going off and stuff like that too, I think that'll be the fictional positioning for it. So I'm going to give them 2 heat. Not too bad. And so +1 heat if the situation happened on hostile turf. Not technically, it's like international waters or something like that. You're not at war, and killing, you don't take heat because you have this specific special ability. So everything is good there. Cool. Pretty precise mission everyone had, I think. Lots of 6s.
Yeah.
Sweet. Because just mechanically, to explain too, the crit on the first one takes you technically past the first obstacle as well, right? So, like, if you had crit on your engagement roll, you would have been through the first obstacle, but since you crit on the next one, you got bonus effect, and we just kind of abstracted it to killing like an extra person, which looked pretty cool on screen, but that's how it would have worked if you had crit on your engagement roll. And so, oh, Aster's gone. Oh, I just noticed that. Okay, well, hopefully they'll be back in a bit, but why don't we do...
Oh, no, you said, yeah, they said they're going to head a bit early.
What?
They headed out a bit early in chat. Asher's out for the session.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Okay, sounds good. Let's do XP then. Ed, do you want to read your XP triggers out?
Yeah, sure. Okay, just making sure I wasn't muted. So every time you roll a desperate action, mark XP. Unfortunately, I didn't have any desperate actions this time around. Let's see. You address a challenge with violence or intimidation. Yes, lots of violence. So I'll grab one for prowess. You struggled with issues from your vice, root, or traumas during play. Not so much.
Right.
So just that
and
one.
You know that you can put your XP anywhere you like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And is it for each act of violence, or is it just one in general for all of the violence?
So it's up to you, actually. So if you think that it happened more than one time, or it was the main like thrust of the session, then you can take 2 XP for it, for sure. So I would probably take 2 XP for it. That was the majority of it.
Cool.
Nice. Again?
Yeah. So I marked my desperate because I tried to do everything desperately. You address the challenge with tracking or diligence. Yeah. Well, I guess like the like sniper rifling. I guess I would make an argument for that. That you know, positioning myself there and kind of like tracking the crew and like the movement on the ship. And kind of playing as like the point man on the mission.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the diligence. I'm not sure exactly how to read that, but maybe diligence. Yeah, I don't know if I even know exactly what diligence means. Like,
it's more like because part of the aspect of the playbook is to be gritty and like persevere under specific harsh circumstances. You're kind of like the like surviving in the desert.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess like it would be like, because I just like literally Googled diligence because I was like, I don't know if I know exactly what that means. So careful or persistent work or effort, right? Like, I would say that he had it in his mind, you know, that this was like, he had kind of the vision in his mind. He worked on this rigging. He like employed it. He like went over the edge, and he kind of was still like on point, on mission. So I think I'd probably take 2 for that.
Cool.
If you guys are okay with that.
Mhm.
And then next part is you express your drives, culture, background, or beliefs. I think like he's trying to be a hero, and he's trying to go out as a hero. He's not out to, he doesn't want, he's not suicidal, but like he's having a hard time with his life, and this would be like the easy answer out. So he's putting himself in these dangerous positions, and I think that kind of expresses like his drive. And then also with like the, you know, and then there's the other side of him that's like trying to be a whole person and trying to be like community, or you know, trying to believe in life again. And like this like bake sale thing, this like bake counter at the farmer's market, I was trying to play up that angle, like that he's got these cookies and everything, and that it kind of like symbolizes like his hope, like that there might still be hope in his own life. So maybe 2 there, if you guys are okay with that.
sure.
Yeah. And then struggle with issues from your vice. I don't think so. We didn't get a chance to do anything in downtime, and yeah, like stupor is not something you do in the middle of a hurricane on a
Hopefully
battleship.
not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could have, but maybe not the exact right moment.
Yeah, maybe not. Cool. And Mike?
Yeah, so I don't remember any desperate actions on my part, so none for that. You addressed a challenge with technical skill or mayhem. Definitely technical skill, with kind of, you know, both assembling that kind of grappling device, but also kind of our whole approach to this thing was, you know, it seemed pretty technical to me. We had like a pretty sharp plan, and you know, it was really, you know, well coordinated. It was just kind of stepping in to kind of silently take down most of the ship's crew before they could kind of catch on to us. So I'll take an XP for that. Belief drives culture, vice root trauma. I don't think that any of those really came out.
Okay. What about your vice? All right. Nobody did. Okay.
No, not in this session.
Cool. So let's do the cruise sheet. Did you execute a successful accident, disappearance, murder, or ransom operation? Yeah, I think so. I think that was highly successful. Did you contend with challenges above your station? Yes. You hit something higher tier than you. Did you bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one? You
I don't
are
even know, what is our reputation.
professional and deadly.
Oh, I would say so.
I think so. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, you guys messed them up real good. Did you express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew? What do you think?
I mean, we were just on task. Like nobody said anything. We just ghosted everyone in silence.
Yeah.
There was no contention happening there. It seemed like it was the essential nature of the crew was to just work like cogs in a well-oiled machine, right? Which was death machine.
The only argument that maybe could be made was like, depending on like how serious we did kind of have a little bit of a party at the end.
That's fine. That's allowed.
I think that's permissible. I think that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. That's fine.
There's nothing in the cleaner constitution that says you can't just have a little party at the end.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay, so that's that. You got them a upgrade. And you guys got them it. So do you want to choose the upgrade as well? You did basically
interesting.
3/4 of it.
Sure.
So you could choose a new special ability or 2 crew upgrades on the sheet. So you could get them the rigging finally that you could have used.
Let's see if I find, what page is that on, Fraser?
For which?
Like, so I can look at what the upgrades are.
Just look on Roll20. Just
you have them in their own sheet. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
You know, underground heaven seems pretty neat.
Underground haven.
You have a
Second
home
last.
away from home, a nightclub, a vice den, etc. I don't know.
Yeah,
What do you guys
sounds
think?
right.
Underground haven.
You know, I wonder if within the fiction, if the place that we dropped the ship off, if would that fit, or does it have to be within the room?
What if we, I mean, like, this would be retconning that slightly. What if we like repurpose like the boat into like some like, nightclub kind of like party boat?
Yeah, sure. That sounds cool.
Like one of those, like a booze cruise.
Yeah. Everybody's sitting quietly with their glasses on.
Yeah, and like there's blood stains on the wall everywhere. They're like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
don't mind that.
Oh, that's okay.
Cool. Is that what
Part
you
of
want
the
then?
decor.
Click that.
Yeah, click it.
So what was
Cool.
that? A boat? Like, did we say we just got a boat in the layer section? Is that what we just got?
It's a party boat now.
Well, it's some kind of establishment, right?
Yeah.
So sorry, wait, because I'm trying to understand. Do we get turf? What is this boat? Like what is it in the crew sheet?
Well, in the crew sheet, it's the move, right? It's
Yeah,
the
you see
fictional-
special abilities.
Oh, the underground heaven. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So when you gather information there, you get +1 result level, and it has the same qualities as your base, as your home.
Maybe they name the club is like safety room or something like that.
Nice.
Cool. All right, I'm going to